In this video, we're going to show you how to replace rear brakes on your Nissan Altima. .21mm socket, we'll remove the tire. Remove the rubber boot for the bleeder screw. Break that bleeder open so we can push that caliper piston back, not compromise the ABS system. So 8mm wrench, just break that free and leave it on loose enough so that we can push the piston back when it's off the bracket. 14mm socket, we're going to take the top slider out first. And the bottom one, same 14mm. Notice when I pull the slider pins out, the top one should have a boot on the end of it. Make sure you always put that back in the top one, and the bottom one will not. Let's set these aside. Now we can push this caliper right off that bracket. Inspect that piston boot. That's the dust boot. We want to clean any dirt from it. If we're going to push it in, I'm going to get a pair of my pliers. I'll line them up. Just seat it enough. Break this bleeder screw open. Make sure you have a catch basin below. You're going to squeeze that piston till it seats flush with that caliper. Now that that piston's pushed all the way in that caliper, I'm just going to take my 8mm wrench and I'm going to snug up that bleeder screw so it stops leaking. I can take away my pliers. Now I'm going to take this caliper and I'm going to push it up here because I don't want it to dangle from the actual hose, put any pressure on that. Now we're going to remove our 2 caliper mounting bracket bolts. That's a 19mm socket. As you can note, I did not take the pads out, and there's a reason. I like to leave them in. That way I can make sure I put the correct pad in the right position. So I want that indicator right where the factory put it. Now we're going to remove our old rotor. I'm just going to grab this firmly, pull back and forth, slide it right off. You see this rubber boot right here? Make sure you take this boot off and transfer it over to the new rotor. So what I like to do is take a little pry bar or flathead screwdriver, just pop it from the back. Now you can take a wire brush or a brass brush, but you want to make sure you get a good surface on this hub because you want the new rotor to seat properly, not unevenly. Use my tool that goes over the stud and get around that. And now I can take some parts cleaner, clean that up. I still have my basin below to catch all this. I'm going to do the e-brake shoes too because I just want all this brake dust out of the way. Nice new clean beginning for the new rotor. Now that that's all dried, I'm going to spray some Never Seize or Anti-Seize on this hub. Make sure you get right where that hub meets that rotor so in the future it won't get stuck on there. So now I'm going to put that rotor on. And I'm going to get a lug nut and I'm going to snug it up to the hub. Just going to use my hand, bottom it out, make sure that seats. Now I'm going to put that rubber boot on. One side in, then just pop the back side. There you go. Now with some brake cleaner, I'm going to clean off the surface of this new rotor. I'm going to do the same on the back. I'm going to spray right here where that caliper goes and spin it. So before I take the pads out, like I said, I've got the caliper bracket like this. The indicator is on the inside pad on the bottom. So I'm going to make sure that I take that. Yes, correct. I have the right pad. This one doesn't matter. So I'll put that on the outside. Now I can take these pads out. I'm going to leave the tins in to clean it because it's holding it firmly. So with my nice little wire brush, I can get right in there where those pads are going to glide, get all that old rust out. You want to make sure they are as clean as possible Nice indicator is to take like a little pocket screwdriver. Once you've cleaned it, take the flat surface and make sure it doesn't grab. See, I can feel that right there. Help it along. And I'll just take the brush to it again. Take some parts cleaner. There we go. Now it's nice and smooth. I'm gonna flip it over, do the same on this side. Then I'll take these tins off and do the caliper itself bracket and the bottom half of the tins. Sometimes you'll get new tins, but if you don't, this is what you need to do before you put the pads on. Let's pop that off. Set it aside and do the same to the bottom. Look at all that nastiness in there. So now we're going to take the same wire brush to it. And if we need to, you can use your air tool. When that rust is there, what it does is it swells up on those tins and pushes those pads closer together so they don't slide in and out freely. Then you'll have erratic pad wear, and that's not exactly what you want. Now, these boots on this particular bracket come right off, which is what I'm going to do because I don't want to damage them. And I'm going to set them aside and take my slider pins, take a rag, clean off all the old caliper grease. If you can get this in there. Now we're going to take our tins that we cleaned on this side, I'm going to turn them over and use that wire brush. Sometimes the manufacturer takes, you can see like it looks like a little piece of paper here. They have like a double-sided sticky pad, and that's what they use. And this is what happens to it. It gets old and rusted. You can see the material coming off right there. And just scrape that clean and flush both sides with it. It's going to hit that bracket. You want nothing to compromise it. Take some parts cleaner and really clean that up. Let that dry. You're going to do that to both sides. So now we're going to take some silicone paste. I like to use this more than caliper grease, but it's both pretty much the same. They both have a good high temp to it. And I'm placing a thin coat right on that caliper bracket, everywhere the tin's going to be. I'll take my tin that I cleaned up. Just like that, push those tabs down. You'll hear it seat. Do the same thing to the other side. And do not put any paste or caliper grease on the top of the tins where the pads meet. But what happens is it collects dirt and sand. So it goes like that. Now I'm going to take the new pad. Now remember, if you have any questions about how it seats again, remember this is the inner part of the bracket, so the caliper piston is going to be here and the outside has the forks. So look on the old pad, you see that circle? That tells me that's where the actual piston is, so I know that it goes that way. Just in case if you move the bracket around and you're like, oh boy, I forgot. It's not uncommon. And if you have trouble seating these, see how that won't even out? It doesn't feel like it slides smoothly. I don't want it to rattle, I want it to slide smoothly. Perfect. Leave them on the outside, right, seated right there. Now we can put our pins back in. So we can take the same silicone paste, and I'm just going to give it a light coat. Put that boot on, and I like to take some of the paste or the caliper grease and put it on the inside. I'll just squeeze it around in there. So now this is the bottom, so you're going to take the bottom slider pin, set that aside. Do the same to the top bracket. That's the one with the rubber bushing on it. Take the boot and put some silicone paste on the inside and get that to seat inside there. Take the pin, put some silicone paste on it. And now we're ready to put the bracket back on the car. So now we're going to take our loaded caliper bracket, slide it right over that rotor, get the top mounting bolt, start it by hand, take the bottom bolt, seat those pads. We're going to hold on to them too. Now I'm just going to take my electric ratchet, snug them up before I torque them. Hold on to the pads so they don't rattle and fall out. So the torque for the caliper bracket, rear caliper bracket to knuckle is 62 foot-pounds. Now we can take our caliper itself. We're already pre-pushed that piston back. Make sure that dust boot is seated properly. Slide it right over that pad. I'm going to take the top one, that's the one with the rubber boot on the tip, slider, center it in that little dust boot, start it by hand, do the same to the bottom. That's the 14mm socket, and the spec is 32 foot-pounds. Just going to open that bleeder screw, make sure my catch basin's still underneath. I'm just going to open her up and let it gravity bleed. Make sure you see no air bubbles coming out. And then we'll snug it up, clean it up, replace that rubber boot. Now I'm just going to snug that bleeder screw right down. Make sure it's tight. Take some cleaner, clean that up. And take the boot and put it right back on. If you used a lug nut to help seat that rotor, remove it. Now we can put our tire back on. .21mm socket, and we're just going to snug them up and torque them to factory spec. Crisscross pattern. To 83 foot-pounds, 21mm socket, tighten up in a star pattern. Double check. Now that your brake job is complete, you always want to check your master cylinder, which is located on this, right in front of the driver's seat in the engine compartment. See the cover, remove it, counterclockwise, and check for the indication of what kind of brake fluid it wants, and it is .3. So we're going to top the brake fluid off. You can see a filler line right here. Make sure that funnel is cleaned. And add the brake fluid. Always go slow with brake fluid because there's a screen in there so that you don't get any dirt in there. So sometimes it takes a little time to fill it up. Now you've topped off your master cylinder, you can put that brake cover back on right on that master, turn it till it locks. Now that you've done your brake job, topped off the master, you want to take your brakes and pump them until the pedal feels firm. You don't have to start it up. You just want those calipers to seat. And now you're good for a road test. Make sure your pedal stays firm and doesn't sink at a stop sign. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Don't forget to ring that bell because then it turns on all your notifications and you won't miss any future videos. Thanks for watching.